Hey everybody, thank you all for joining us. Let's Talk SoFlo Radio Show. I am Dr. Karen Lewis, real estate broker with K1 Realty Group and one of the hosts on the show.
This is Alicia, aka Real Estate Her First. I'm also a host here at Let's Talk South Florida Real Estate.
Hi, and this is Tamika Moses, co-host of the South Florida Real Estate of Robin Bird Realty.
And thank you all for joining us. We're here every first and third Saturday at 11:30 a.m. And don't forget to download the app, WMBM 1490 AM.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. Today's kind of a bittersweet moment. It's our last radio show. Today we have a special 1-hour segment. Here we have Tamika and I in the studio at the moment. Go ahead, introduce.
It's our last show for South Florida Radio show, but guess what? This won't be the last time you all see us. Okay, this won't be the last time. My name is Tamika Moses. I'm the broker owner of Robin Bird Realty, and our other person, she's not here today. Hopefully she'll be able to call in.
Dr. Karen should be calling in any moment, guys. And I'm Alicia Wright with K1 Realty and also one of your hosts here at Let's Talk South Florida Real Estate. So today I guess we'll start off with what's new in real estate, what's going on today in the market. Let's start. Well, as far as, real estate, we're like... January has been one of those months. So lately I've been really just, catching up on all the education that I've been lacking, following up with my clients, cold calling, doing everything to create leads. Mm-hmm. And, of course, showing up here, marketing. So at a point in any business, there's, a time that you have to get back to the drawing board and you have to perfect your skills. So that's the season I'm in right now.
Awesome. I have just been following up with brand new clients. I've been getting a lot of brand new clients. I've been doing more. I have been doing more lives on commercial real estate.
I saw that. I'm so proud of you. That's good. I seen that.
Thank you. I've been doing more lives on commercial real estate. I have been getting more leads. I have been doing more classes. I have been just basically building up the brand of Robin Bird Realty this year.
Yes, and I love that for you.
Thank you. So really stepping out this year for Robin Bird Realty. Yeah. And it's a lot just going on in the sector period for residential and also for commercial. Oh. I mean, because, listen, you got building going on everywhere.
That's true.
And so people always asking me, is the market crash? I'm like...
No, guys, I'm sorry to tell you.
I'm like, it may be a soft little landing, but I think we've already had our price reductions, what everyone is already expecting. And I was going to go down even more. I'm like,
no, it's not like that, guys. And pretty much the same thing I dealt with. A lot of people that was qualified last year, and they're like, oh, I want to wait till the market crashed.
Yeah.
Now they don't qualify this year.
Nope.
So it's kind of like we always tell you, buy real estate and wait. Don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait, right?
You know how many people have told me that? I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to the domino effect. I'm like, domino effect of what? What are you talking about?
What happened in 2008 is not happening again. The banks correct all the things that caused that to happen.
Exactly. And I tell people all the time, a lot of these huge hedge funds that have come about, like your Blackstone, you have so many other people, American for Rent, they already have billions of dollars waiting. So if any distressed properties do come about, they already going to snatch those properties up before it even gets to the general public.
Yeah, and you know what people are not noticing? Investors are still buying.
Yes, they're buying.
People with the big bucks are still buying. So look at that.
They're still buying. They're still buying left and right. And I tell people that all the time. I say, it's huge amounts of money, especially in America right now. You have a lot of international client. My clientele is becoming international. I had someone that reached out to me through my website for a multi-million-dollar industrial space. He's like, I want to sell it, so I need you to go and do some numbers or whatever. I'm like, where are you located? So I met up with his property manager the other day. Mm-hmm. So they're looking to say, we want to sell this, and then we're going to buy some more property. Right. So, people are still buying and selling. So when people say, oh, okay, I'm just wait. I'm like, while you're waiting, it's 100 people that's coming behind you that's ready to buy.
And they're not just waiting, they're renting while they wait.
Exactly.
So you're kind of just throwing money down the drain when you're renting while you wait, right?
Exactly. So what I always tell people when you're looking at this market, look at, I said, listen, I read 10 different papers a day. People know, people are like, are you sick? I read 10 different papers. I'm up at 5 a.m. I go work out. I finally get up out the bed, quote unquote, at 5:30 to go work out at 6 with my trainer. And I say, between that time, if I'm up at 5 a.m., I'm reading at least 10 new different periodicals from Biz Now, Wall Street Journal, the Miami Herald, and I want to know what's going on in the market. I don't look at the front page of the newspapers. I've been doing that since I was a child. I go right to the business section. I like business and sports, so so my system has always been, God bless Dad. My mother was here; she would tell you, we would get the morning paper. I would go through every page and say, give me the business section and give me the sports section. Wow. Sports is going to make me happy in the business. I want to know what's going on in the world. Wow. So I tell people, I do that every morning. I don't want to hear about, oh my God, it's a recession, it's a recession. Listen, you can make money in any market. I always tell people, look at the type of businesses that are coming to South Florida. If it's things that are not, that you've never heard of, but then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we got 10 different stores, 10 different this, and 100 this. I'm like, wait a minute, it's an increase.
Right.
So
it just depends on perspective, your business perspective.
It does.
I feel like a lot of times when we can't afford it, or we feel like we can't afford it, we make excuses.
Yeah.
But what I say in those times, see if you can afford it, right?
Listen, I tell people all the
time, run those numbers. Yeah. Because a lot of times you can't afford it. You just don't know.
It's your mindset. Oh, I can't afford it. I said, but you can tell me you can afford a $3,000 purse. So what we doing?
$3,000 rent.
Exactly. So I'm like, what we doing? Yeah. And I'm like, rent is going to continue to keep on increasing. A lot of these older apartment buildings, they're now upgrading.
Yes.
So they're upgrading to what the new apartments look like, with the keypad locks and stuff. So I'm like, you all do know that all factors into the rents. Yeah. That all factors in. So once you start seeing that, when people are like, oh, it's going to be I'm like, it's never been a rent crash.
Never.
I'm like, I've never seen a rent crash. And I don't know, as long as the years I have been doing real estate, I've been in the real estate industry since 2003. When the market was just like booming. It's like, okay, then if you had a pulse, you can get a mortgage. So, but guess what? I'm like, we don't have a rent crash. I'm like, you get foreclosed on, you cannot go live in the streets. You got to go rent. You got to go pay somewhere to be.
Everybody needs somewhere to live, right?
Exactly.
So that's where we really are now in the market. And again, like Tamika said, it may be our last show, but it's not the last time you'll be seeing us.
No.
So this information is always going to be there. Like you say, you're reading a lot, you stay up on your stuff. Things are ever changing. So one thing we can focus on and know, changes will always come, right?
Exactly.
So whatever you're going through today, understand that it's not going to stay there. This too shall pass, right?
Oh, this too shall pass. I mean, listen, Miami is the hottest city in the world.
Right.
We are the top city in the world, and people don't realize. What we complain about, I'm like, people are like, oh my God,
well, locals don't realize it.
I love it here. I love South Florida.
Yes. To be honest, South Florida is where it's at. Hi.
Yes. Hi, our guest is here.
We have our guest. Yes. Shawnee just walked in.
Yes, Shawnee just walked in because she was on my lap, and I'm still looking like, I see the laughing emojis. That's why I scratched my ass. I said, because I'm going to go get her.
I already know. Trust me.
And I'm sitting there looking like.
When I say I already know, when I know.
I look at her and laughing emojis. He's like, I'm going to get her. So, listen, fun fact, Shawnee is my birthday sister. Her and I have the same birthday, so she know. I'm like, I see the laughing emojis. I'm like, I can't say no. I'm like, I'm gonna get her.
I already feel that. It won't be long before I get more.
Good morning. Good morning. What a pleasure to have you here. This is a very special show to us. It's our last show.
What was the last show?
Yes.
But it's not going to be the last time you see us, though.
No, not at all. And, we've been at it for years now, right?
Yes.
So, everything works for the greater good of something else, right? So, it was a stepping stone into better things.
Good.
So, go ahead and tell us, audience, a little bit more about you, Shawnee.
Oh, so I'm Tamika's Tamika's birthday twin.
Look at you.
I'm not a stranger to the WMBM audience. I've been here a few times sharing all about how to build your credit so that you can buy more real estate. So I'm really, really excited to be here with you this morning for sure.
Right. She's a goddess of credit. I know she knows
all
the ins and outs.
You in here.
She knows all the. She know how to crease it like this in person empowerment. I'm gonna give you that. This is how you're gonna empower and make sure you keep more dollars in your purse.
That's right. So you can buy more real estate and do more investing. And I also have with me my Instagram audience. So if you guys send any questions here, you'll be featured on the show. So if you have any questions, I am surrounded by two realtors this morning, one specifically who deals very strongly with commercial real estate. So those of you who have any questions about commercial real estate, how to get into commercial real estate, Tamika is a beast at that.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
So tell our audience how to reach you on Instagram.
Oh, so you can find me on anything Person Empowerment. Empowerment. If you look for me in any space, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you look, that's where you will find me.
Yes.
So this is exciting, guys. At this time, while you're preparing, building credit is definitely one of the most important things to do, right? Shani, just tell us how you got into credit building. Like, what led you to this business?
What got me into building credit? Well, I wanted to purchase my first property. I might have been maybe about 20, 21, 22, anywhere between that period of time. And I didn't have any credit. I had no credit. The only thing that I had in my name was a $15,000 car that I had bought when I was in college. That's it. So the credit bureau did not know me. I might have had maybe like maybe 3 medical debts because you know when you're in college you don't pay any attention to medical debt, right?
No attention
you don't pay any attention to medical debt. So I wanted to purchase a home simply because all of my friends that I was friends with, Karen Jones is actually, she's been a realtor for almost 20 years, so she was one of my first mentors, and she was buying real estate, right? And so everybody that I was surrounded around was buying real estate, so that's code for, who you hang out with is going to definitely have a huge influence on what it is that you buy,
That's true.
So some of your friends will tell you, let's go out to eat, and then you'll have some friends that say, okay, well, cool, we can go out to eat, but let's also buy some property together.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Friends I need.
Right. Those are the kind of friends that you need, and then you
Yeah.
also have the kind of friends that and Karen will tell you a lot of it is that most of the luxuries get paid, bought with commissions, and profitability.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that buy their luxuries, with their paychecks, depending on their earnings. So that's a whole different thing. So anyway, at that point, I was highly influenced by Karen, and so I wanted to get into purchasing a property. I had made it like a 6-month goal, and again, I did not have any credit. Only thing I had was that $15,000 car, and then I had some medical debt. So I got rid of the medical debt myself. I started disputing it. And then I saw my credit score goes up. I added myself to my grandparents' credit cards, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So that's one of the quickest things that you can do, seeing as how they had excellent credit. So I just added myself as an authorized user to their cards. And within maybe about 3 to 6 months, I was ready to go because I already had, good employment. I was already working as a banker, so it was easy. So essentially, that's how I got into building credit scores, just because I had to do it for myself first. I also would have the opportunity as a banker when I would be in the bank and I would see people come in, and what was so very interesting about being in the bank is that I had the opportunity to not only see how much people made, but I also got to see how much people kept. As a banker, that was
and the thing about it is you have that knowledge.
Yeah,
you have that knowledge.
So,
you gain that knowledge.
Yeah. So when I'm looking at so some of the interesting enough at that particular time, some of the people that was able to hold on to the money was people that weren't making very much money. Some of my clients at that particular time might have made maybe about $18,000 to $25,000, within a year's time. But when I would look into their accounts, they would literally have the amount that they earned that year in their savings account.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I would see $15,000, $25,000, and I would think to myself, how are they saving this aggressively with this little amount of earnings? It was crazy to me. And then on the other hand, I would see the attorneys, I would see the doctors, I would see the nurses that was also my clients at that particular time, and them just kind of being the ones coming in, overdrafting their accounts, always looking for, overdraft removals, because, and that's what got me to see that oftentimes oftentimes, number one, just because you make more money doesn't mean that you're a good manager of it. Two, if you're really, really busy, like if you're a really, really busy person and you don't have systems, you're not going to have a poor credit score just because you don't know how to deal with money. You're not going to have limited amount of money in the bank because you don't know how to make enough money. You don't know how to manage money. So that was it. So it always was, just being able to sit in front of those numbers has always given me the opportunity to really look at, how people's habits have an impact on their credit scores and how much money they have saved up, even more so than where they work.
Exactly. Boom,
that's definitely.
Yeah. Listen, she just gave us a whole lot.
Yeah.
Not because you what?
Yeah, just because you
the
make
people
it.
with the more money just didn't know how to manage their money.
But sometimes I don't find money management to be a very convoluted, process.
Yeah.
Managing your money, having a budget, having some level of discipline is typically what is often lacked, and then not planning, not having enough time, because and often now, like my business now is like 10 years old, so I have the opportunity to work with so many different professionals, and those that work a lot of times are the ones that have like the worst credit and the worst amount of savings.
Those when
you work, like my clients that are doctors, my clients that are in corrections, my clients that are police officers, it's not that they don't make the income, it's just that if they're working in an obsessive way, they don't plan to
it's harder.
I find that.
Attest, even as a realtor, sometimes
listen,
when I sit back,
you have some realtors, they get that first check, I'm gonna go blow this.
You gotta, after the first experience of that, I was like,
exactly.
When the taxes hit, it hits different, right?
Right. So the average person, the amount of taxes that they keep, they'll keep it for no more than 2 weeks. That's the average person. They will not. The average tax return is about $3,500. So depending on like if you're accustomed to getting that type of windfall, I mean, it's not really a refund per se. It's really just the money that you've been paying into the system, and now you get some of it back, right? a very small portion of it back. So they blow through it. So the main thing is to kind of have like a plan, have a plan before the money hits your hand, have a plan before the money hits your hand. Hashtag.
I like that.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go.
For
you
sure.
Hear that? Have a plan before the money hits your hand.
The money hits your
so
hand.
Tell us a little bit more about the plans that you might have in place for people that reach out to you. Do you give them, do you help them budget? What exactly?
So it really depends on what the person may want. So the large bulk of my clients are going to come to me because they want to purchase a home. Most of my clients want to purchase a home, and that's a strong motivator. One of the things that I do see in the time that I've been doing this is sometimes people will reach out to me because they want to purchase a home, but once their credit score starts to go up, they start doing other things with their credit. Right? So they forget that, their goal was to purchase the home, because oftentimes, like when it comes to people that look like you and I, oftentimes it's not really hard to repair your credit per se. It's not really like, I'm not looking at your credit report and seeing $25,000 worth of debt. That's not what I see. When I look at credit reports, and I've been looking at credit reports for the last 10 years, on average, I'm going to see maybe about $5,000 in debt, right? Maybe about 30% of that debt is going to be medical debt, which is very, very easy to get rid of. If you're looking at your credit report today, for the listening audience, either if you're listening on the radio or if you're listening on IG, one of the things that you want to do is look at your credit report and see if there's any medical debt on your credit report that is $500 and under. Anything under $500 can be disputed, because right now it's unlawful for that to be reporting on your credit report. So that's a simple thing that you can do. Simple thing that you can do.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a really $500 or less. $500 or less. You can literally just go look at your credit report. It doesn't matter if you're going to go look on Credit Karma, if you're going to go look at free annual credit report, wherever it is that you go. Do I particularly like Credit Karma? Not per se. You've never heard of Credit Karma?
No, I never heard a credit person that likes Credit Karma.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not so much that I dislike it. It's not so much that I dislike it because I've been in the industry for over a decade, I can tell like the differences between it. So oftentimes, like depending on where a person is in their financial journey, say for instance, if they're getting ready to make a purchase within 6 months, then you don't need Credit Karma, because that's something that you need to be looking at on a regular basis. But let's say you're just keeping Credit Karma because you want to know if something hits your credit report. Credit Karma is going to do that for you. They're going to tell you if something hits your credit report. It wouldn't be the best place to, be shopping for a car, because what you're looking at on Credit Karma is your Vantage score versus what a mortgage company will want versus what a car company would want. That's the differences in it. But if you're just looking for something to have your score, accessible to you, then it's nothing wrong with it. What I find in the difference of the score, sometimes I can find Credit Karma scores to be 15 points higher or 15 points lower. So what I would say, if you're not getting ready to purchase a home within the next 6 to 9 months, then it's cool for you to use Credit Karma. But if you have like some really intentional goals that you're trying to knock out at the top of the year, then I wouldn't be using Credit Karma, because they're only showing you 2 of your credit reports anyway. They're not showing you all 3. If you're disputing your credit report, they're not showing you account numbers. So it's not so much that I dislike them. It's just the things that they don't have that typically, if you're disputing your credit report, it's not there.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way when I was purchasing property.
Yeah.
So what Credit Karma said was different than what I really needed to know.
For sure.
But as you said, it is helpful to see what's exactly on your credit.
And some of the other systems you have to pay for, right? So someone who doesn't have any, immediate goals within the next 6 to 9 months, they really don't want to be spending, $25 or $30 or $80. Some of the credit monitoring systems, that's why people get Credit Karma, because it's free.
What about like a lot of the bank apps? They have your FICO below. Do you
recommend
that?
FICO, I like FICO 8. FICO 8 specifically for, I'm going to say, look at your scores based on your goals. Everything that I'm going to say, every strategy is going to be based on what goals you have. So if you're looking for a mortgage, you're looking at your FICO 8. If you're looking to get a car, then it's okay for you to go ahead and use that banking score. The best place to get your credit score from is the person that's going to be giving you the loan, because they have the best matrix. They're going to tell you what's okay and what's not okay.
A lot of good information.
Yeah,
Again,
for sure.
Tell them how they can be.
You can find me on anything. Instagram.
It has all the nuggets, guys. I love it.
For sure.
I love it.
For sure.
And definitely we need this type of information in our community, because again, what we were talking about earlier, a lot of it is intimidation, right?
Right.
A lot is that we don't know. So here's free education, guys. Get this information, reach out to Shawnee. She's been providing very good tips so far. So, and I'm pretty sure she's good at what she do. 10 years in the business.
Is.
Yes.
So, she is awesome. Let me tell you something. She just gave us some financial literacy. Financial literacy.
And that's important in our community.
Yes.
And then what's really, really big is that if for those that are listening, either no matter where you're listening from, it's really, really important to know that at this particular time, we as the Black American race, we own less property than we did in 1960, right?
Yes,
so you would think with having access to more literacy, having access to better job, better employment, that we would definitely be purchasing more property, right?
Yeah.
For sure, so that we can have some level of transferable wealth to give over to, our generation, to create some level of generational wealth. Unfortunately, it's not so much. I would say that we need to buy different things. That's what I would say. I would say that we need to buy different things and change some of our goals, think a little bit further into the future as opposed to like the immediacy of what it is that you're doing right now. Like, for instance, if you're listening in and I said I've already given like a 10-minute task and like look at your credit report. If you haven't looked at your credit report this year, that's one of the things that you can do as soon as you hop off this live, as soon as you hop off the radio. Like, I need to look at my credit report and I need to see what's there. A lot of people operate through avoidance. Well, we all know whatever we don't confront, we cannot change. And again, it literally doesn't take that long to improve your credit. You're talking about 3 to 6 months, depending on what's there, unless you're dealing with, a large amount of late payments. If you're dealing with bankruptcies, you're dealing with evictions, it doesn't necessarily mean that those things can't come off. They're just not going to come off as soon as, a few inquiries, right? Inquiries, the excessively, asking for credit, then that's going to play a role on your credit score. Right. For sure.
So again, that's definitely important. So check your credit scores, guys. So it's Black History Month, and she's dropping the history on this.
Yes.
If we own less properties today than 1960, what does that tell you guys?
Yes. Now, here's another stat that's really, really good, is although we don't own as much property as we owned in 1960 as a African American here, we do buy more life insurance than any other race.
What? No.
Yes.
Are you serious?
53%, right, of life insurance policies that was purchased last year was by a African American. And oftentimes we are often ridiculed for what it is that we purchase, and Black Americans, we get the worst of everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I was looking at some stats on diabetes, hypertension, we're like, oh gosh, we're the worst. But as soon as I looked at, oh my gosh, well, we might be a little sicker, but the good thing is, we're making sure that we got some life insurance. So I like that.
We prepared for the worst.
At least, well, not necessarily. I mean, prepared for the worst, but prepared for death, right? I know some things that are worse than death. That's for sure. I know some things that's worse than death. The death you kind of tap out, but there's some other stuff on this planet that's far more detestable. But anyway, in the event that we are passing away, sooner, also, just racially, when it comes to a whole different things, at least now we're purchasing life insurance. So tip number 2, if you've been listening in, the first one that I've shared with you is number 1, if you haven't looked at your credit report, take a look at it. Right now, people say, there's just no information. There's this, I don't know what to do. No, you have to implement what you hear, right? Because there's so much information, right? There's so much information.
Yes, it is.
So, there's just, sometimes there's so much information, especially with social media, you almost don't even know what to listen to, right?
Yes.
So that's why I'm always saying you have to select your strategy based on your goals. So if you're listening in and you're saying, one of the things I want to do is get a property this year, okay, make sure when you get off this live, you at least spend 10 minutes just looking at your credit report. If you don't know what's on it, then reach out to me. If I'm not your person of choice, then reach out to someone else. That way you're not just keep talking about the same things over and over again. If I told you that 53% of African Americans are purchasing life insurance at a higher rate than our other counterparts, then if you don't have life insurance, after listening to me saying, you know what, let me make sure I have life insurance. The reason why I'm so excited about this is because a large amount of us was actually, waiting for GoFundMe's to fund our life insurance, to fund our funerals. This is not really, this is not enjoyable at all, No, and then if we don't have life insurance, if we're not, having to use GoFundMe this was like a national stat. The African Americans were literally, they considered GoFundMe as a part of like their financial plan in the event that someone passed away. I thought this was detestable. So to hear these other stats, meaning like, okay, we're not doing that anymore, at least as much as we were doing before, that's really, really good. So if you don't have life insurance, consider getting some type of life insurance. Don't just listen, implement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Woohoo! She giving us some knowledge.
Yeah. Any questions? Do we have any questions from anywhere? To
ask her some questions, guys, call 1-888-599-9626. Again, I'm Alicia with K1 Realty. You can always reach me at 954-203-8826.
My name is Tamika Moses, broker of Robinboro Realty, and I can be reached at 954-404-4646, and you can follow me on Instagram, Tamika Moses _.
Perfect.
So
Shani gives us so much
a lot of information.
I know. I want to see more people buying more real estate. I want to see them doing that more, as a priority. That's something that you should mark as a priority for this year, just because it gives you the opportunity. Like I have a lot of friends that they do make money in stocks and bonds and things of that nature. And I'm just not a watcher. Do I invest? Yes. But in terms of clocking in, looking at, stocks on a daily basis, that's just not my habit. I like real estate because you can purchase it, sit it there, and let it build some equity.
Over time, right?
Over time. There's also some other ways to get into real estate. There's always REITs, real estate investment trust, where some people don't have the opportunity. One of the things that may deter some people from real estate is the amount of money that you have to put down. Well, there's REITs, right? REITs will allow you to buy into even commercial real estate, without having to come up with that 3.5% all the way to 20%, depending on what it is that you're thinking about purchasing. So Yes, there's
all
always
different
that.
types of ways. There's always different types of ways to invest.
Mhm.
And I always have people ask me, Tamika, when is a good time to buy? Can you afford it? Yeah, well, go ahead and buy now.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what we were speaking about.
And we have a housing shortage.
Yes.
We have a detrimental housing shortage.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
are like, oh, people aren't. I'm like, I don't care about. People don't care about the rates. If they have the money to afford it, like, okay, all people want to know is at the bottom line, what is my monthly payment going to be, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
If they're able to buy, they're buying. People are buying.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, and with things how it's going, again, if you can afford to buy real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Buy it and wait. Buy real estate and wait. Don't wait to buy real estate, because what we were speaking about earlier, last year, a lot of people qualified to buy, but they're like, oh no, we're waiting for the market to crash. Hello, the market has not crashed, and it does not look like it'll be crashing anytime soon. But the same people doesn't qualify to buy this year because of the interest. So again, buy real estate and wait versus waiting to buy real estate.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I listen. I see it all the time. As the interest rates go down, the prices start going back up. So, but people always.
He said we need to take a quick break. Okay.
Oh, we're going to take a break?
Yes. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll continue in about a minute or so. We need to get the commercials going.
Hey everybody, thank you all for joining us. Let's Talk SoFlo radio show. I am Dr. Karen Lewis, real estate broker with K1 Realty Group and one of the hosts on the show.
This is Alicia, aka Real Estate Her First. I'm also a host here at Let's Talk SouthFlo Real Estate.
Hi, this is Tamika Moses, co-host of the South Florida Real Estate of Robinbird Realty.
And thank you all for joining us. We're here every first and third Saturday at 11:30 a.m. And don't forget to download the app, WMBM 1490 AM.
Celebrating Black History Month today, tomorrow, and all year long. Your Stellar Award station, Gospel AM 1490 WMBM, Miami Beach, Miami-Dade County, Broward County, and the world at WMBM.com. WMBM Media Group.
That isn't credit. Then I look at the comments. She got the laughing emojis. I said she better be outside. I can't.
I know you was going nuts. Nutty buddy.
I'm like, listen, I can't. I said, you know what? That's okay. But guess what? She's here and she's dropping us. She's giving a lot of knowledge today.
That is true. That is
a lot of financial literacy. Listen. When y'all always ask me, it's a great time to buy real estate, whether it's residential, commercial. If you can afford it, buy. Just buy it. What's the worst thing that can happen? So
You own property?
you get all the tax benefits
You
and
get
everything.
all the benefits to own a
Exactly.
property? Not that bad, right?
Exactly. The tax laws are made for ownership.
Right.
true.
Some of your
And rent is real high.
exactly. Listen, rent is high. Rent is extremely high.
God.
3 times the mortgage. Like, what? And eggs is high too, so
Oh, those eggs are high.
Everything is going up, but our market is still cheap. But the people up north, they're like, oh my God, it's so beautiful here. So this, like this weekend, it's the Coconut Grove Arts Festival, and it's also the boat show this weekend. So millions of more people are going to come to South Florida, and they're gonna be like, oh my God, I want to be here.
Yes.
So I want to buy a property.
right.
Everyone loves South Florida.
When are we-
So how much more time we got?
Oh, hey, welcome
we're
back,
back.
everybody.
We didn't even know. Okay, then welcome back.
Definitely when you hit the Florida border, it definitely changed your mood.
Yes.
It's brighter.
Exactly. So bright, it's sunshine, it's hot. They're like, oh my God, I go to the beach today. I
Right.
love it.
What I always say, we live where they vacate.
Listen.
So move on down.
Exactly. And that's what they're doing.
Important question I want to ask you, Shani. With the inflation going where it is, what are some tips that you can tell our listeners to keep their credit intact?
Okay, so what to do when we're thinking about inflation and still keeping your credit intact?
Yeah,
Okay.
like, what's a little bit of hint?
Okay.
Like some
what
good
would be
tips.
some of the things that you would do? Okay, so she just asked me what to do in the event that inflation is starting to have an impact on how you move around in terms of your credit, in terms of, investing, in terms of your debt and things like that. So the first thing I would say is, number one, you're going to go ahead and you're going to look at it, right? That's the number one thing. So I was working with one of my clients this week, and one of the things that when I completed her budget for her, she had a deficit of $300, right? That was her deficit. And after looking at her deficit, so someone will say $300 isn't anything. Well, do 300 times 12 and see how you look at the end of the year, right? Right?
Exactly.
Right. So maybe if you think to yourself, and the number one thing that I had to get her to do is, number one, I had to get her to look at where the money was going. For those of you that are looking in, just drop in the comment section, where do you guys think her $300 was going? Where do you think that $300 food? Exactly,
me.
right?
That's me.
Right?
That's me.
Okay, so it's $300.
Food at home, guys.
So that $300. So when you start talking about inflation being the highest that it has been in the last 40 years, this is the biggest. When you walk into the store and you don't understand inflation, when you walk into the store and you see something that used to cost you $2.69, now costing you $5.55, you know that the amount of money that you have sitting in your savings account is not having the same value that it had 2 to 3 years ago. Once this becomes inside of your mind, you know that on a monthly basis, you cannot afford to waste the amount of money that you should be leveraging. That's the whole thing. People think like, okay, well, I don't want to budget. It's irritating. It's frustrating. That's fine. But if you don't have any resources to leverage, this means that you essentially want to stay in the same spot. This is what this means. If you don't have any money to leverage into the future, if you don't have anything to invest, if you don't have anything to pay down your debt, right? That means that you want the same life. And really and truly, because of inflation, you're not even going to maintain the same life. Like rent, right? So if you look at a rental property here, you can get a nice rental property here, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, just 3 years ago for $2,500. That same rental property, they made no changes in it. There's no upgrades. They made no changes, no material upgrades to it. You did not get any more amenities. The only thing that happened is what? The cost of it, right? That's the only thing that increased. You didn't get more amenities. You didn't get more. You didn't get more space. The only thing that happens, right? So, people essentially think that you're saying, okay, don't spend any money. No, make sure you have some resources that you can invest, because that is going to be your number one protection against inflation. That's going to be the number one way to protect yourself. The other thing is that you cannot walk around in automation. You cannot work around in automation. That robotic, attitude that you have, that set it and forget it, it's not going to support you in this particular time. If you know that you're busy, here's another tip for those of you that are listening. The first one was, number one, look at your credit report. If you haven't looked at your credit report, if you don't have life insurance, even if you have to every 90 days increase the amount of life insurance that you have based on the amount of income that you're increasing, make sure that you have some level of life insurance, because I oftentimes, two ways, if my clients are not having any type of life insurance, here's two things that happens. Number one, they do look for GoFundMe. GoFundMe is typically one of those frustrating spots. Sometimes I'll be looking at the GoFundMe and the people be having like $1,500. I'm like, sis, that ain't going to cover no $8,000 to $10,000 funeral, sis. It just ain't going to get it.
Okay.
You short, and then the other thing that they do is they use their credit cards, right? So either way, this is something that you need to have in place. So if you're listening in, don't just listen in for the sense of, okay, here goes another talking head. I'm always going to give tips, right? Because I care about economics. I care about economics because economics have an impact on the way that we treat each other. That's why I care. People like, Shani, you care so much about money. Not particularly. I care about the way people relate to each other, right? When you look at the way that people relate to each other, oftentimes it has a large part to do with the amount of stressors in their life. When you look at stress, what is it normally attached to, right? If you're not making enough money to take care of your children, if you're not making enough money to, get to work, if you're not, this is why I care so much about economics, right? This is why I care about it. So it's not just so much about, buying a house, a car, or this or that. I care about economic stability because economic stability has a high correlation with emotional stability.
Yeah,
emotional stability is the only way. Yeah, this is the only. Yeah, this is it. This is it. So So that's why I'm so passionate about it. When you have more resources, you can be a little bit more patient. When you have more resources, you can go ahead and schedule that therapy appointment, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to be so busy that you don't have time to, like the other day I was sitting talking to my son and he got really, really frustrated with me. And I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like what if I had to rush into somewhere, like, you know, and I couldn't actually just sit here and let him just communicate his frustration towards me. Then he has to hold it in, you know what I'm saying? He's bottling up and then he's going to find somewhere else to put it because he's frustrated. So all of this has to do with your ability to have access to resources so that you can carve out time to do the things that you really want to do.
Important.
It's very, very important. It's not just about your credit score, you know? It all kind of, I'm like a huge advocate for, you know, mental health. Another thing is that when we start looking about mental health and all of this, what does it even have to do with money? The number one protection for health, believe it or not, I'm the stat person between me and Tamika. Y'all gonna get some stats. Listen, I'm a statter, you know, because I like the laws of large averages, right? So laws of large averages give me predictability, right? It's not so much like, okay, it's guaranteed that this is going to happen, but the fact that it has happened before, it's a high probability that it's going to happen again.
Exactly.
That's just what it is. That's why I like statistics in that particular way. Lean to the right, lean to the left. Another statistic is one of the biggest threats to human health, would you not believe? What do you think it is? What do you think the biggest threat to health? Stress.
I would say
Give me a
stress as
guess.
well.
Lifestyle.
Child abuse.
Oh, wow.
Child abuse, right? Yes, right? You're like, Shani, what does this all have to do? Make it make sense, right? Bring it all together. So essentially, right, when you start looking at hypertension, when you start looking at diabetes, when you start looking at all of the top things that cause African Americans to have a shorter lifespan, right? You have a short of lifespan, hypertension, strokes, heart disease, all of these different things, they have a high interlocking with just people just being treated very, very poorly, very poorly, either being treated very poorly as children and never really getting the proper care so that they can move into the future and make some better decisions, right? That's just like the overwhelming thing. The other fact that you should hold in your hand is, if you're listening into this, the average American does not become a millionaire until they're 57 years old. You do have some outliers with people that are 37 years old, but the highest amount is going to be 57, right? But if you start looking at the connection to heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, if at that point you are, you know, you're kind of taxed or vexed with these particular illnesses, how do you step into this $1 million, right? How do you step, if you have all of these, you know, very, very straining diseases, how is it that you're going to be showing up faster at the period of time where your education makes the most sense, your economics make the most sense, the relationships that you've had the opportunity to build makes the most sense. However, you're no longer healthy, right? That's why there's so many interlockings connected to that. So what does that have to do with the children? Number one, if you have children, take time, communicate with them, do the best that you can to manage your financial resources in a way that will allow you to be present. That's one of the things that I'm most proud about, is that I have managed my finance. So people say, Shani, are you rich? Are you this? You talk about money all the time. I have managed my financial resources in a way that I can be present to my children. And that's something that I'm very, very proud of, right? And for some people, that is wealth. You understand what I'm saying? That's
exactly.
a high amount. You know what I'm saying? That's a high amount of wealth. Can it all be measured in dollars? Perhaps not so much. But in terms of presence, I got it. You know what I'm saying? And everything else can be built, you know, on top of that. Just having the opportunity to be present, to be responsive, to know what is going on. So that would be the other tip that I would share that will have an interlocking, because the healthier, and when I work with my clients in terms of just dealing with it's overall, you know, so if you're frustrated, then you're going to go to the mall. You understand? Like, you're going to go to the mall because you're looking for some level of relief. You're going to the mall, sis. Or you're going to eat food.
I want to give me some food. Or you want to the mall, like, you know, let me go buy some of the Cheerios, whatever.
Exactly. You're gonna look for these different ways to be able to comfort yourself or numb yourself. So sometimes when I'm working with my clients, I'll help them if I look and I keep consistently saying that every month, $500 just going to the mall. I'll have them to sit down, look in your bank account, account. And even if you're not one of my clients, this is something you can do yourself if you're kind of like, okay, what am I actually spending my money on? Because that's one of the biggest things that people come to me for. Like, they kind of just come and just drop their purse in front of me and like, well, what am I doing with my money? Okay, all right, so just here's something that you can do. Here's another tip that you can do. You can just pull out your bank statements. Pull out your bank statements, right? And get 2 highlighters, one yellow, one green, right? Anything that you highlight in yellow, that means you need to slow it down, right? Anything in green, then that means like that's where your money going. That's where your money going, right? Write those 2 down. Write those 2 numbers down. Okay, here's what I had in yellow. Here's what I had in green. These are things that if I keep going, my money is going to go. Here are things that I need to slow down. And another thing that I see people using is self-care as a way to be reckless with money. Like they say that's true. They use it as an excuse to be like,
because that was my self-care.
That was my self-care. Next thing you know, right? So you have all these self-care expenses, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And you have all this self-care, and it's like you really don't care about those things that you really need. Right. Really and truly, there's a part of you that probably just need to, sit down and be just a little bit more present
with yourself.
With yourself, being able to just do other things that doesn't require that. Am I totally for making sure that you are presentable to the general public? Absolutely, but not in a way that it's going to create a high level of financial debt, and you're saying that you don't have the money. Yes, you do have the money. You just have to reallocate it. You have to reallocate your resources in a way that is going to work for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sounds really good. Great information, Shawnee. I love it.
You're welcome.
She's trying to give me myself.
I'm not trying. Okay, so
my food
so you're like done now. So then you have to begin to challenge yourself. Is this self-care or is it self-avoidance? You understand what I'm saying?
A lot of time it is self-avoidance.
So often right? So and if you're noticing, the way how you know that it's definitely self-care is that you're planning it, right? So if I'm going out with my girlfriends, I know that, hey, I'm going to plan it. If I'm going to the spa, okay, I know I'm going to plan it. So that might be the month that I don't also eat out heavy because I know that I'm going to spend $200 at the spa, right? So I'm not going to spend $200 at the spa and spend $200 on eating out because now I'm $400 that I've just spent on self-care.
Yes, plan. So what I'm getting from you is plan. Don't act on impulse.
Yes. I mean, the more impulsive you are, the more you're not going to be able to take advantage of opportunities. You want to be. There's so many times where people can't take advantage of opportunities because the resources are not available and they're on their head, they're on their hands, they're on their feet, they're on their in their driveway. One of the number one expenses, I mean, that is just crazy if you look at them, if you just look at the amount that right now, and some of it is systematic, right? Not all of it is choice, because even sometimes when I'm looking at my clients' credit reports and they have like a Corolla, bro, the car payment is $500. I'm like, you should have an Audi. Like, what is this, right? I'm looking at something like, I'm like, how much is your car payment? $900. What kind of car do you have? And they're like, oh, I have a GMC. Man, you should get a Range Rover. What? Right, because a part of it goes back into that other conversation where it's legit inflation for what it was that you were able to get something for 2 years ago. You really can't get the same access to things at that same level. So that means that you definitely have to be tighter when it comes to your income and when it comes to your outcome. And that's another conversation that I have to have with my clients. So oftentimes after you have this sit down and you look at your income and then you look at your expenses, the next thing is that face the fact that you don't make enough money. That's a large part of the conversation, right? Like, just be like, nah, I don't cut everything. I don't drink coffee. I don't go to the club. I don't get my nails done, and I still don't have any money. Okay, sis, now listen, this is another part of the conversation, because if you look at that data for 3 months straight and you're constantly at a negative, this means that you have to
cut back.
Cutting back. What happens when you cut back everything? Because sometimes I'm dealing with people. If they cut out anything else, they're gonna be living with their parents, because they're gonna have to get out. They've reduced it. So either you're going to have to reduce at such a higher level, meaning you're going to get a roommate or you're going to move into someone else's house, or you're going to go ahead and get a higher employable skill. That's going to be the next thing. What else can you do? Right? You're going to have to get a higher employable skill, right? So one of my clients came to me and said, well, Shawnee, I'm going to go ahead and start a candle business. Okay, so I'm not necessarily a strong advocate for you to just sporadically sporadically go, invest in, because it at least is going to cost you at least $200 to get started. $200, $250, right? I'm for maybe go and work for Amazon for a few months. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying, because literally some budgets can be improved by just $100 a week. That's $400 for the month. You don't have to be the next whatever. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to do that. What you need to do is create some habits that's going to change your bottom line. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? So sometimes it's Amazon, sometimes it's Uber, sometimes it's overtime. Sometimes if you want to get into another, and there's another thing, like people like, okay, well, I'm taking this course, or I'm taking this class or this. Well, you have to make sure that there's an ROI on that. You know what I'm saying? You have to make sure that there's a lot of courses and classes that you can take. I like certifications because certifications can be leveraged with your employer. Certifications can be, leveraged elsewhere. So if you're thinking about what are some other things that I can do to generate money, number one, look at what you're dealing with. Most people, if nothing else, if I don't say anything else that's helpful to you, if you haven't looked at your budget and you haven't looked at your credit report, go ahead and do that. And then when you look at your bottom line, if you see negative 82, negative $1,000, or if you see positive $1,000, it's like, well, where $1,000 at?
True.
Because so those are ways that I would deal with inflation, looking and impacting.
Yep, definitely a way we need to look at inflation, guys. A lot of people are complaining about it. The paycheck is not increasing, but guess what?
The expenses are.
The expenses are. So as Shawnee said, sit back, look at your budget, make a plan, and stick to it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Impulsive behavior is not a part of self-care, guys.
Yeah, no.
Exactly. It's not
Plan
part
your
of
self-care. Don't just get into
see how I'm saying it's not part of self-care.
Unfortunately, it feels good.
I know.
It feels good in the moment, but, we really have to be more responsible these days and be intentional about our goals, right? So, that's something very important that I want everyone to keep in mind. Another question that I had for you, with a lot of us these days just being entrepreneurs, waiting for the next check, what kind of tips can you give those people?
So what will I say to my entrepreneur clients? Okay, so depending on where my client is as an entrepreneur, right? So sometimes a client will come to me as an entrepreneur and they have decent income. They have decent amount of income. They might be making, let's say they're making 6 figures every single month or whatever the case may be. The number one thing that I'll find with them particularly is that they have disorganization, because they spend so much time making the money that they don't spend a lot of time managing the money. That's going to be one of the hugest things that I find with that 6-figure earner on a monthly basis, right? So the first thing that I would do with them is that same experience that I said, okay, looking at your budget, seeing how much income you have, seeing how much your outcome is, and seeing how much you really should be left over. So sometimes I'll deal with my clients 6 figures. Realistically, based on their expenses, their rent or their mortgage might be $2,500. They may have a car payment that might be $600-$700. At the ends of I chart all those numbers out, they should realistically have $5,000 left over based on what it takes to manage their life. They pay their mortgage, they pay for their car, they pay their insurance, they take their kids here, blah, 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 blah. You do all those numbers. At the end of it, at those budgets, I'll say, okay, so you should have $5,000. When I look at it, you don't have the $5,000, right? Sometimes one of the things that I'll say that my entrepreneurs is that because you spend so much time earning money, you eat out so much. So what you need to do is get yourself a meal plan. You need to either get yourself a meal plan or you need to hire a chef, because if you're spending $1,000 on eating out, that means that you could be getting somebody to professionally prepare that food for you and drop it off, because it's $1,000. You just eating healthier. You might as well just, you might as well just hire, you might as well hire that service out. So at least it'll be $1,000 and not $1,500 on whatever you can just get and put in your mouth. So that will be the next thing. The second thing is that oftentimes when you're making those 6 figures, you're not really looking so far into the future. Realistically, you want to take 30% off that off top, just 30% of whatever you earn, so you don't burn. That would be the whole point and the purpose. You would just get used to, putting aside of your money into the future, because every entrepreneur, including myself, have high and low seasons. You understand what I'm saying? And you don't want to have to live off your credit cards during those low seasons. So when you popping off, make sure that you're not living on everything. So oftentimes entrepreneurs, they live, that ain't, and mostly if an entrepreneur, that's not your whole 10 grand. That's a whole nother conversation. That's not your whole 6 figure. You still got to pay the IRS some of those resources.
Right. Yeah, people forget about that bill, that IRS bill.
A
lot of people be forgetting about it. They be like, oh my God. I'm like, they want their money.
Right. They're going to want their money. So this $10,000 that you're bringing in is not all your money. So one of the things for sure that I have a payroll system, right? So any of my employees, any of my contractors, all of them on a payroll system, just because I don't want to deal with a tax bill. You understand what I'm saying? In fact, if I get a refund that's too big, I know I done did something wrong.
Don't go spend it out.
Exactly.
I don't want no big refund.
Exactly. I tell anybody that, listen, I'm like, listen, if you're paying taxes, that means you're making money.
Listen,
So,
if you're paying taxes, that means you're making some
Something.
resources, right? Or at least you have enough organization to
Yes.
be able to pay those taxes. And I don't want a large tax bill, you know? I like my children. Man.
The IRS gonna
So
get it right.
that's what I would say to the entrepreneurs, not living off the entire amount of your income, not thinking that your income is always going to be what it is.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Entrepreneur that's starting out, I would say start out the same way that you are at your high. That way you already have like these manageable skills, you know, so that you already know how to deal with highs and lows. If you're a new entrepreneur, it might look good on social media for it to look like this is your full-time job, right? But if you're not paying your bills, you better go get you a part-time job to supplement your income, right? Because
or go get what you just told us earlier. Get another skill.
Get another skill.
And that's what people. And that's in this market and everything. People are going to have to face reality. You have to get another skill.
Yeah. Yes.
Invest
It's
in
real.
yourself.
You have to invest.
Yeah.
And this is not just here for just a South Florida. This is nationally.
Yeah.
You're going to have to get another skill
you are.
because of what the industries and what they're changing into.
Yeah.
Because you still want to be employable.
Yeah, it's
and like
true.
I always tell people, everybody doesn't have to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So you still want to be employable.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to get another skill.
That's probably one of the things that I don't like in the social media space or just altogether. I don't really like how a lot of the times entrepreneurs will kind of have like this, you know, they'll kind of turn their nose up at, you know, those that have a 9-to-5 in place. Like, first of all, they're your customers. You know
Exactly.
So why would you be, you know, turning your nose up or being snooty towards someone that essentially may need your business for a service? And not everybody. I've met a lot. For me, my business is 10 years old, so I've had the opportunity at living at so many different flows within entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship. Plus, I also meet a lot of people that started in entrepreneurship with me that is not with me right now. It's not so much that what they have was bad, but they don't have any management system. So being an entrepreneur, you have to know how to manage your time. You don't see me popping on my phone all the time like that. You know, you can't call my phone whenever it is that you want, because most of the times I'm in front of somebody. You know what I'm saying? So because I know how to manage time, some people don't know how to manage time. They don't know how to manage money, so they really need to be employed by someone else. Right. I also understand financial systems, so I know how to put retirement money to the side. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that turn around, they look around, they don't have no 401k, they don't have no 403bs, they don't have any resources. All they have is like this business that in a lot of ways is not transferable to their children because it's not a legitimate business. It's a hustle.
Exactly.
So that's a whole different thing.
Exactly, because I had to go on her booking website and book me a phone call. And I go for a conversation. Hey, I was trying to call you.
Yeah, right. Because so that you understand what I'm saying.
That's true.
Yeah,
but that's true though.
Yeah, you have to. If as an entrepreneur, if you know me, right? If I know you have a job, I'm not going to be calling you while you at your job.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be calling you. People like sometimes they'll call me all day. Sis, I can't talk to you.
Exactly.
I'm talking to my clients.
Exactly.
Yes, Shawnee definitely gave us some good information today, guys. Shawnee, tell them how they can reach you.
You can find me on anything Person Empowerment. If you guys have any questions as relates to building your credit score so that you can purchase a property, then you can definitely find me on anything Person Empowerment. You can book a free 15-minute consultation just in case you want to see, like, you know, can I answer your questions? Would I be a good person to work with you? That is always the best thing. Everybody that I talk to is not always going to become my client. That's absolutely fine. But if you're listening to me and you have like one of those moving money questions that's going to, you know, create more wealth for you so that you can have that emotional stability that I strongly advocate for, then book a free 15-minute session.
Awesome. And thank you so much. This is a good way to say farewell to South Flow Real Estate. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
Bye. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, just book a free 15-minute session. I'm glad you guys were able to tune in with us today. Until then, do something that's going to add value to your purse or your wallet.
Yes. Woohoo! Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes.
Hey everybody, thank you all for joining us. Let's Talk Soul Flow Radio Show. I am Dr. Karen Lewis, real estate broker with K1 Realtor Group and one of the hosts on the show.
This is Alicia, aka Real Estate Her First. I'm also a host here at Let's Talk South Flow Real Estate.
Hi, and this is Tanika Moses, co-host of the South Florida Real Estate of Robin Bird Realty.
And thank you all for joining us. We're here every first and third Saturday at 11:30 a.m. And don't forget to download the app, WMBM 1490 a.m.